She knocked Caitlin Clark into the wall. The collision echoed like a drum in an empty gym. For a second, time stood still. Fans gasped, players froze, and even the officials hesitated. You could feel the shift in the air, the moment everything changed. But if that's all you saw, you missed what made this game unforgettable. Because what Caitlin Clark did after the hit told you more about her than any highlight reel ever could. This wasn't just another matchup. The last time she faced New York, she carved her name into history, becoming the first rookie to post a triple-double against the reigning Eastern Conference powerhouse. She did it on their floor, against Breanna Stewart. That game didn't just earn her a line in the record books, it lit a fire under the Liberty. They didn't forget. And tonight, they came for blood. From the opening tip, New York looked surgical. Their ball movement was clean, deliberate, unselfish. On the very first possession, they ran a perfectly timed series of screens that forced Indiana into a mismatch, ending with an empty side pick and roll that gave Jonquel Jones all the space she needed. Sabrina Ionescu threaded the pass, and Jones laid it in untouched. It was a team flexing its chemistry, but Clark wasn't rattled. She called for a screen from Aaliyah Boston and immediately went into action, drawing in defenders, pausing just long enough to sell the drive before lofting a feather-soft lob over the top. Boston caught it in stride and banked it home, smooth, surgical, and a warning. Clark had come to play. Ionescu struck again, curling hard off a down screen and whipping a bullet pass to Jones inside. New York kept exploiting every mismatch with ruthless precision, but Boston responded in kind, faking a handoff at the elbow, spinning over her right shoulder, and floating in a soft jumper just inside the paint. Indiana was holding its ground. Then Stewart reminded everyone who she was, slipping a screen, stepping into a mid-range jumper with a defender in her face, and sinking it like it was nothing. The Liberty were in rhythm, but Clark raised the tempo. She spotted Kelsey Mitchell sprinting up the sideline and delivered a full-court laser that hit her perfectly in stride. Mitchell laid it in without breaking motion. Vision like that can't be taught. Moments later, Clark found herself isolated against Stewart. No hesitation. She attacked the lane, absorbed the contact, and kept going. Clark absorbed the contact and finished the layup through one of the league's premier defenders, and won. The crowd roared. Clark didn't flinch. She was running the offense, setting the tone and dictating the pace. She followed it up by collapsing. The defense again, drawing two defenders into the paint before sliding a no-look bounce pass to Boston for another easy two. That marked Clark's fourth assist, and there were still 5 minutes left in the quarter. The Liberty responded with a smooth give-and-go between Stewart and Natasha Cloud that ended in a clean finish under the rim. Ionescu kept it going, knocking down a corner three, then sizing up Boston and burying another jumper right over her outstretched arm. Suddenly, the Liberty had seized the momentum, but Clark took it right back, snaking around a screen, finding daylight, and floating one off the glass while taking contact again. Another and one. Another answer. She was keeping Indiana alive. Then came a costly mistake. With the clock winding down, Indiana tried to beat the Liberty's zone pressure on the inbound, but fumbled the ball. Clark, trying to recover, committed a desperation foul. Courtney Gardner calmly stepped to the line and sank both free throws as the buzzer sounded, ending the first quarter with New York leading 30-29. But Caitlin Clark wasn't just matching the pace, she was dictating it. Even with the Liberty's early burst, something bigger felt like it was building. Indiana opened the second quarter needing a spark, and Sophie Cunningham delivered. With the offense stalling and New York pressing higher, she caught the ball. Near the wing, saw a seam in the defense and attacked without hesitation, knifing through the lane, slipping past a help defender, and finishing with a smooth scoop layup off the glass. It wasn't flashy, but it was tough, and it reminded New York that Indiana still had fight. The Liberty answered, quickly and ruthlessly. Ionescu, recognizing a switch with Boston sagging, Used the same move as before, floating a soft jumper, just over her contest. Same look, same result. That kind of consistency breaks defenses. Moments later, Natasha Cloud made her mark. Seeing Jonquel Jones sealed deep under the rim with a smaller guard fronting her, Cloud didn't wait. She lobbed a perfect, high-arching pass over the top. Jones didn't need a dribble. She just finished. Then came the knockout sequence. Cloud caught the ball on the perimeter. Her defender sagged a step too far, and she made them pay, draining a clean three. As the shot fell, she turned and blew a kiss. Message received. Give me space, and I'll bury you. On the next possession, same thing. Sharp ball movement led to another open look for Cloud beyond the arc. She rose with confidence. Swish. Another. Three. The Liberty bench stood, feeling the momentum swing. Then Cloud turned defense into offense, reading Clark's eyes, jumping the passing lane, and intercepting the ball in stride. Without hesitation, she fired it ahead to Ionescu, who caught it in motion, finished through contact, and drew the foul. The Liberty exploded off the bench. Indiana looked stunned. Cloud was controlling every phase of the game. The Fever desperately needed stability. Kelsey Mitchell stepped up. With the shot clock fading, she danced with her defender, jab-stepped, and buried a step-back three over a high hand. A shot out of nowhere, but exactly what Indiana needed. Clark went back to what worked. Her connection with Boston. Their pick-and-roll timing was perfect. She waited, let the defense commit, then dropped a bounce pass right into Boston's shooting pocket. That was assist number 7. Clark still orchestrating, still controlling the possession even as the momentum teetered. The Liberty threatened to pull away, but Cloud came right back, this time giving it up early, then cutting hard to the basket. Jonquel Jones met her in stride with a return pass, and Cloud finished with ease. The give and go looked effortless, but it was just more of what she'd been doing all quarter, being everywhere at once. Clark wasn't fading, though. On the next possession, she found Boston under the rim again, using her body to seal position. The pass was crisp, the finish routine, Clark's 8th assist. But once again, the final seconds stung Indiana. With just over a second left, Cunningham was called for a bump foul on Stewart. It didn't matter how minimal the contact looked, Stewart stepped to the line and hit both. The Liberty had their foot on the gas, and Natasha Cloud had taken over. But Caitlin Clark was still very much in the game. Her stat line wasn't screaming for attention, but the storm was building. Indiana came out of halftime knowing they had to flip the energy, and right away, Kelsey Mitchell delivered. She briefly lost the ball, but recovered and found Lexi Hull wide open in the corner. Hull didn't hesitate. She rose up and buried the three. It was the start Indiana needed, but New York stayed sharp. Ionescu worked a pick and roll, got just inside the free throw line, and floated in another soft jumper. Her pacing was perfect, never rushed, always in control. Mitchell responded again, showing off her handle and footwork as she danced around a screen, crossed over, and drove hard to the rim, finishing with a smooth lefty layup from the right side. On the other end, Cloud answered just as fast, sprinting, coast to coast off a loose ball and laying it in before the defense could set. Hull kept her momentum going, catching a pass on the move, cutting back door behind a ball-watching defender, and finishing. Moments later, she stepped into a rhythm jumper off a Boston pass. Another bucket. Quietly, she was becoming a difference maker. Clark and Boston kept their connection alive. On a short roll, Clark hit Boston in stride, and the all-star forward flipped it in for 2 more. But New York countered with a 2-player dance of their own. Cloud handed it off to Stewart, then cut hard for the return pass and finished under the rim with unreal precision. Still, Indiana kept fighting. Mitchell jumped a pass near midcourt, took it all the way, and laid it in to cut the deficit to 2. But Ionescu answered again, this time with full force, head down, driving into contact and finishing with power. It was a tone setter. Clark wasn't done, though. She hit Mitchell on the wing for a step-back three that tied the game and gave Clark her 10th assist. Then she took over. She blew past 3 defenders, spun through contact, and finished a reverse layup under the rim. Seconds later, Mitchell found Boston inside for another score. Then came the moment. Clark pulled up from deep, finally ending a brutal shooting drought from beyond the arc, and she didn't just hit it. She drew the foul. A 4-point play. The crowd exploded. Seconds later, she stepped back from near. The logo launched and drilled it at the buzzer. Indiana, who had trailed by 9 at the half, now led by 8. The game had flipped, and Caitlin Clark lit the fuse. The final quarter opened with a surge of confidence. Indiana secured an offensive rebound, and Aaliyah Boston quickly found Natasha Howard cutting to the basket. Howard took the hit, powered through, and laid it in. The lead stretched to 10, and for a moment, it looked like Indiana had all the momentum, but they couldn't hold it. Cloud drove hard into traffic, lost the ball on the way up, and it landed in Kelsey Mitchell's hands. With no one ahead of her, Mitchell sprinted down the floor, but somehow missed the easiest shot of the night, a wide-open layup. The arena groaned. The missed opportunity opened the door. The Liberty wasted no time stepping through the door that Indiana left open. Jonquel Jones took control. She caught the ball on the wing, backed down Boston, and drained an impossible one-legged fadeaway from just inside the arc. That single bucket shifted the energy. On the next trip, Indiana's defense collapsed on Stewart, leaving Natasha Howard wide open under the rim. She finished through contact. But Cloud refused to back down. She grabbed her own miss, weaved through defenders, and banked it in. Then she flipped the script entirely, stealing the ball at half court, flying in transition, drawing in the defense, and threading a perfect bounce pass to Stewart for an easy layup. The crowd could feel the game slipping away, and Ionescu made sure it did. She found Jones for a deep 3 at the top of the arc. Next possession, same action, same result. Another 3 from Jones. Just like that, the Liberty had erased the deficit and taken the lead. Boston gave Indiana life again with sheer effort. She missed a layup in transition, fought for the rebound, and finished the second chance to tie the game. But Ionescu came right back with a tough jumper over her defender to regain the lead. Clark responded, attacking the pick and roll, splitting the defense, and laying it in with finesse to tie it again. But on the next possession, Jones caught the ball deep in the paint and drew a foul on Clark, calmly sinking both free throws. Indiana answered once more, running a Spain pick and roll to free up Boston, who got fouled and hit both at the line. With just over 7 seconds left, Ionescu attacked the lane, drew a foul, and made both free throws to give New York the lead. 1 possession remained. Indiana put the ball in Clark's hands at the top of the key. She tried to create space, felt contact, and went down. No whistle, no call. The ball rolled away, and the game was over. The Liberty celebrated while the Fever pleaded for justice. But the final horn had already sounded. They knocked her down, literally. They pushed her, pressured her, and dared her to break. But Caitlin Clark didn't just get up, she fought back. Every possession, every minute. From missed shots to buzzer beaters, from double teams to full-on collisions, she stayed in it until the end. In the end, it was the Liberty who walked away with the win, but it was Clark who turned the third quarter into a test of will. The logo 3, the 4-point play, the comeback push. That wall they knocked her into may have stopped her body, but it never touched her heart. And if this game proved anything, it's that you can hit her hard. But you better be ready for what comes next.